Welcome to Recently Logged, where this week the leaves are changing, the air is cooling, and Micah begins to sneeze. Do you want to move to California? You know, this has me questioning whether or not this week's movie takes place in California or not, but I have a feeling it doesn't.
I don't know where it takes place, but I don't think it's California.
I don't think it's California. There's quite a lot of snow. And I mean, I guess maybe in Northern California they get a lot of snow. I don't know.
No, I'm sure they. No,
it's a long state.
They do get a lot of snow in California. I'm pretty sure, North California. I think.
Well, it could very well be California.
But I don't think it's Southern California.
Yeah, probably not. But anyway, here we are. We're recording the first episode in the fall season, if you couldn't guess.
Yeah, we're here.
My name is Robbie.
And I'm Micah.
As you might have guessed from the intro. But this week we're talking about... We decided that we wanted to talk about...
We didn't say welcome this time.
No, I specifically avoided it, but now you've brought it up, Micah.
It is set in Vermont.
Set in Vermont.
Which makes
that makes sense.
For the snow.
But yeah, this week we wanted to do something, since it's our first episode in the autumnal season, we wanted to do something kind of fall related.
Yeah, and this one looks like fall.
I was about to say it's got the fall leaves. You know?
It's the fall semester at the school. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
They go all the way to winter. But this is one of my favorite movies.
I don't think we've actually said the name of it.
Yeah, you did, because you said something about where Dead Poets Society is set.
Oh, did I? Oh, I didn't think I mentioned the name, but yes.
I thought you did. Anyway, we're talking about Dead Poets Society.
About Dead Poets Society is the lesson here. But anyway, before we get into our thoughts on the movie, let's go over what you guys need to know about it.
What? All right, Dead Poets Society is what we're talking about again. It came out in 1989.
Nice.
It is rated PG. It is 2 hours and 8 minutes. Its little IMDb description is Maverick teacher John Keating.
What?
Maverick teacher uses poetry to embolden his boarding school students to new heights of self-expression. Wow, that sounds like a real heartwarmer.
It's a weird description, but I mean, not inaccurate. So,
featuring the cast of Robin Williams,
yes,
Robert Sean Leonard,
yes,
Ethan Hawke,
yeah,
Josh Charles,
yep,
Gale Hansen,
absolutely,
Dylan Kussman.
Yep.
You know, I said I didn't need help pronouncing names.
Hold up.
Allelon.
Allelon? I assume.
Idea.
I don't know, maybe
it's the guy who plays Meeks.
Oh,
he's fun.
Yeah, he's fun.
Shout out to him. Directed by Peter Weir. Written
Peter Weir
by
the
Tom
MVP.
Schulman.
All right.
Written the same guy who wrote Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Wait, really?
Yes.
Oh my goodness. All the thematic depth of Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
And that's all you need to know. This was the second Ethan Hawke movie.
The second Ethan Hawke movie.
This was
I mean, who doesn't like Ethan Hawke?
Robin Williams at the height of his power.
Robin Williams at the height of his power. Peter Weir at the height of his power. Ethan
Hawke movie.
The budding Ethan Hawke. It's a good movie. It's a recipe for success.
Yeah. No, I mean it sounds like a good movie, Robbie. How about let's talk about why?
Let's talk about it.
So, Robbie.
Yes.
What do you think?
What do I think?
Of hit Peter Weir movie, perhaps the best Peter Weir movie.
Wrong.
Perhaps Dead Poets Society.
Dead Poets Society.
The Society of the Dead Poets, if you will.
Well, I want to get this out of the way. I think I'm always going to be more of a Truman Show guy, but that's inevitable, you know. That's like the gold standard of like original screenplay to screen, you know.
Yeah.
Like, but Dead Poets Society is still very good and features a lot of the stuff that I like about Peter Weir's movies, you know.
Wow.
I don't know. He has such a unique directorial voice. Like you can just, it's so weird because the form of the Truman Show is so much different. I mean, that's the only other Peter Weir movie I've seen to my knowledge.
No, I'm pretty sure
but it's the Dead Poets Society still feels so much like one of his movies.
It feels distinctly
which is so strange.
Similar to Truman Show,
even though it's so different.
Yeah, even though they're extremely different.
But yeah, Dead Poets Society is very, very good. Probably one of the better, if not one of the best, coming of age movies I know of. It features some great performances, like a really good ensemble given how young everyone is. Probably Robin Williams' best performance that I've seen.
I was gonna say, you haven't seen like
I haven't seen a lot of his work, but like from what I've seen of his career, it's probably my favorite. A really like surprisingly gripping story about like boys at a prep school. I don't know, it's such a sincere and like kind of wholesome depiction of like I don't know, I said coming of age, but that's really a good term for it. It's guys being dudes for like 2 hours, you know. And what's better than that? On a more technical level, it's really, really well edited. I didn't realize the first time I watched it how well edited it is, but like there are some sequences I was like, oh my goodness. Really well directed, obviously, and I don't know, it has this energy to it that is very nice, and it's a very profound movie, and I really appreciate that. But what did you think?
What did I think?
Poets Society. I know. I think you've mentioned before that this is one of your favorites.
I think that everybody who doesn't like this movie is needs to grow up.
Needs to
get over themselves.
Needs to get turned on to the Truman Show. My God.
Needs to be okay with being a little pretentious.
Oh, I guess this wasn't aimed at me. I assumed this was aimed at me.
No, this is not aimed at you.
Okay, I was like, dude, I just like the Truman Show a little bit better.
Take it from Ethan Hawke himself. Ethan Hawke said it's okay to be pretentious.
I think it's healthy to be a little pretentious about stuff. But that's coming from a guy who has a film podcast.
Right. But I love Dead Poets Society. It hits a lot of things that I really love, especially like its discussion of poetry and everything, and use of a kind of a coming of age story.
Yeah.
And again, the cast is insanely good. Like all of the performances from the students and Robin Williams are really, really great. Yeah, on a technical level, I think the movie looks great.
It really does.
I love the editing. I don't know. It's just like, again, this movie cultivates a really, really subtly like engrossing vibe.
It does,
that you have throughout the entire movie. Like from the word go, you're like very much engulfed in the world that it has you going for,
which is so strange. Like it seems unusual for a movie like this. Like just from the first few scenes, you're like, wow, like you're already kind of like sucked into the movie, which is it's so weird because nothing really is happening yet.
I don't know. It's very impressive.
Yeah.
It's very, very good. I don't know, I get into like every element of it. I really love its story. I love how it uses all of its elements for its like coming of age stuff and everything. And I don't know, like this is just one of my favorite like movies. It makes me happy. It makes me sad. It makes me love movies.
It's such a frustrating movie to to watch.
Because the first half is like the most feel-good thing you've ever watched, and then the second half.
It's brilliant, but it's such
I was about to say, but that is kind of the point.
It's such an infuriating movie to love. That
is the point, and they do a darn good job getting you to be like actively mad at the people at the school.
Right. But yeah, very good movie. What did you rate it, Micah?
I gave it a 5 out of 5.
I gave it a 4.5 out of 5. Very good movie.
Get off the stage.
Get off the stage.
Robbie is not a theater kid, so he could never understand.
This was my second time watching Dead Poets Society for the podcast.
And this was like my fourth or something. I haven't kept track.
Micah's like, I watched it a lot of times. But this was our first time watching it on VHS.
No, it was not. We watched it for the first time on VHS.
We watched it for the first time on Tubi.
No, I'm pretty sure we watched it.
No, because I remember the first time I saw it, there were ad breaks and everything.
Sure we watched it one time on VHS because we made a comment about the VHS.
Oh, maybe, I don't know.
But yeah, we watched it for the first time on Tubi.
We watched it on Tubi.
There was an ad.
Oh my goodness.
Right after
like the
climax.
The big climax.
Which for this movie is not okay.
It seems in poor taste.
And not only that, but I remember this ad. This was an ad with what's his face?
I don't remember the ad at all. So.
Why can't I think of his name?
Is he an
actor?
From
SNL.
From SNL. Oh gosh.
Comedy man.
A comedy man from SNL. You really narrowed the pool.
Why can't I think of his name? It's like something with like a K or something.
Oh gosh. I have no idea. But what was the ad about, Micah?
I don't know. I don't remember what the ad was about, but they had him in it.
Oh no. But yeah, no. The first watch of this, maybe it makes sense that I enjoyed it a little more the second time around.
Kenan Thompson.
Wait, it was Kenan?
It was Kenan.
Oh,
it was a Kenan ad after the climax of this, and I was like, "What is going on?"
But yeah, watching it without ads did it a lot of favors, I think. Because it's such an understated movie, and not having ad breaks really helps
having
it.
Stuff break the pacing
and the atmosphere.
The atmosphere definitely really helps.
Which I hadn't gotten before.
Because you really fully get like engrossed in a lot of like the characters and their lives and their progression.
Absolutely.
And I saw somebody talk about how interesting it is that kind of like, because they thought Robin Williams was going to like be the main character, which is what a lot of people would assume going into this.
That's what I assumed going into this.
But they're like, it's interesting because he's kind of just like a springboard of ideas to show like, of like that affect all of the different boys' lives in different ways.
I was going to say this is kind of the ultimate coming of age movie, but it's the ultimate like boy teenage.
Yeah, this is like specifically not that obviously girls will connect with it.
Oh yeah,
obviously.
no,
I'm just saying like this is like the ultimate like,
because I was gonna say it's like the ultimate coming of age movie, but that completely discounts like the female experience of coming of age.
Right. This is like the how to put it, like the trapped in the doctor line at a boarding school coming
the boarding
of age.
School to doctor pipeline.
Like I don't know. There's a very specific thing here.
Yeah.
Obviously, like the movie is for everyone, but like I'm just saying, like that, like the kind of feeling it captures is very much like again, like very guys specific, being dudes for most of the movie.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, one of the major plot points is literally the fact that there are no girls around.
It's a wild movie, man. I can't believe this thing is PG.
Well, Robbie, this was still at a time where PG-13s were extremely rarely given.
In '89, man.
Extremely
but yeah, you're right.
Given. And what does this movie have in it?
An extremely mature subject matter and nudity. I wonder what we could give this movie as a rating.
Yeah, it's interesting, but it's what I expect from the 80s, 70s, and 80s.
I don't know what I expect.
I don't know.
But yes, it's very good.
Yeah, let's get into the discussion some more.
Yes.
We usually
I didn't have a question on
they
Locke.
usually cut.
Oh, no, we don't. No.
Yes.
Dude, we've been
I was
doing this
waiting for you to
podcast
cut.
for like 3 years now, and for the past 6 months or so, we have not.
No, for the past like 2 episodes, maybe. But fine. Do you have a question? You don't have a question?
I mean, I could come up with something probably.
I mean, I could probably come up with
Okay.
something.
Okay, I have something.
Oh yeah, something.
What do you think of the ensemble? We mentioned how great the ensemble is. And in my mind, that's always been one of the more impressive aspects of this movie is how great the ensemble
I
is.
love this ensemble.
Yeah.
I think this is one of the best instances of especially like a school ensemble.
Right.
Where they have like a friend group that's like a school friend, like a boarding school friend group. And like you have all of these different guys and they very much feel like they'd be friends, like the chemistry and like just the performances and how well they work together as just like being friends, like convincing you that they're just like exactly the kind of friends that guys make, you know.
I can't believe how realistic their like dynamics feel.
Right, and each one of them has like their different like dynamic personality traits.
It's
and
wild.
like different things that they're into, and tying them together. And like, because like the first time I watched this movie, I thought 2 of the characters looked so similar. I got them mixed up a couple of times.
It's the haircuts, Micah.
Dude, it's oh, why did I just lose his name? The guy who falls in love.
Oh, the kind of greasy white boys.
Yeah, and then the other guy who has like a very similar blonde cut.
Yeah.
But I just thought that was funny because but like all of the characters, like really you feel them grow individually in such an insane way.
Right?
I don't know. Like,
That's honestly one of the most impressive elements of the movie is how natural the like story progression is. It feels on a character level.
Yeah, I don't think this movie would work well at all if it wasn't for like how well the chemistry between all of these guys works. Like that's half the sell, is the fact that they'd even want to start the Dead Poets Society together. Like the fact that the way those meetings feel. And everything, like I think it's amazing. It's really great to watch because it's just like, I don't know, it's like I feel it's like the guy experience.
It's the quintessential guy experience.
The coming of age guy experience. That's what it is. I don't know. You know?
Speaking as a guy, it's the quintessential guy.
Yeah, speaking as a guy. Speaking as a teenage guy.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned, like I pretty much agree with everything you said. I wanted to bring it up for a reason, and I think that it's honestly very impressive that a cast, like an ensemble cast this good exists.
Yeah, and I mean, everyone was pretty young in this.
I'm surprised Ethan Hawke has always been as great as he is.
Well,
you know, like
Robbie, you gotta watch his first movie.
He's not
if he's always been as great.
He's not at the top of his game here, but like he's still like
I love his performance.
He's still killing it in this, which is insane to me.
Yeah, no, like I think he gives a fantastic
He's an outstanding
performance.
cast choice in this.
Him, Neil, and Charlie are really the standouts.
Yeah. They're great. And I mean, even Robin Williams is great here.
Yeah, and I can't remember his name. The romance guy. I can't remember it.
He is good in this.
He is, but I can't remember his name. Knox.
Yeah.
Knox.
I thought you were looking for the actor's name, and I was like, oh.
No.
But yeah, no, it's a surprisingly great ensemble.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it has to do with Peter Weir's direction. Like,
oh yeah,
like I said, a lot of the feel of his direction is still very much there, and I very much appreciate that.
I mean, 90% of these actors either had never been in another movie before this, or didn't really go into acting much after this.
Yeah, no, I was looking through some of the cast last night, and I was like, wow, these people just really didn't act that much.
Some of them did, obviously, but most of the boys just like this is like the only movie they got almost,
which is crazy, you know.
Which is
with
crazy
how good they are here. But yeah, no, it's one of the better aspects of the movie. Good stuff.
I think it's, again, one of the key aspects to what makes the movie work.
Yeah, and I mean, it's really at the heart of this movie is the ensemble and everything.
Well, yeah, and you mentioned Peter Weir, and I think something that's interesting because both Peter Weir movies I've seen, they have like a really, really impressive quality of like seemingly really understanding like how to get performances and also just like get a movie that really understands like people. Like the performances in the Truman Show are like very sincere.
They feel
very personal.
They feel very naturalistic, which is like so odd to see. I don't know.
Yeah, and then like take this weird like little pretentious tragedy poetry whatever movie, and like you have some of the most like realistic like guy friend dynamics you've ever seen. And I don't know, it's very impressive. He's a very good director.
I was about
to say, the two movies I've seen.
Yeah, the two movies I've seen, both masterpieces in their own right. But The Truman Show is like one of my favorite movies ever, probably. But yeah, he's a very impressive director for what little I've seen of him.
All right, what do you think of like the poetry stuff in this? All of like the poetry class, what it's used for, the Dead Poets Society.
How poetry is used in this movie.
Yeah, how poetry is used in the movie.
I think it's very interesting. I don't know how to say it.
Half this podcast is gonna be me and Robbie going, I don't know how to put it.
I don't know quite how to put it. I don't have the words to say. But yeah, the poetry stuff, it's a very, I think, smart angle, because from a screenwriting perspective, like what class is going to inspire them to change their lives in such a dramatic way, to change their outlook on life in such a dramatic way. And I think poetry class, kind of an obvious choice, but the way they actually use like the poems themselves in this is really brilliant. The one scene there's I mean, basically all of the scenes in the classroom are really good. But the one with Ethan Hawke especially is very, very good. Like the big catalyst for his character. It works really well. When it comes to actual like poetry in like the text of the movie, I don't know, because I can tell it's there, like you can feel its influence, but I don't really know what to point to when it comes to like like, oh yeah, I really liked that,
Well, see, I feel like poetry is a very pointed choice of art to kind of go with.
Yeah.
Because essentially, as far as like all of modern time that is considered, poetry is kind of a dying art form.
It is, yeah.
And it's one of the most expressive and raw art forms that kind of can't be defined,
Yeah, it's true, yeah.
It's a very I guess it's a very humanistic art form. I mean, it's one of the most like extreme, intense.
It's one of the only art forms that can exist just as a thought rather than, creating something like physical,
Yeah, so but I think it's very important for what the story is going and how it approaches kind of developing its story. That like poetry is as entwined with everything that it's going, and it's poetry that gets them to feel so powerfully about stuff. And I don't know, like the way the story is structured out is very
poetic.
It feels very poetic throughout, which you have kind of like this simplistic poetry going on throughout all of their lives as they have this kind of intense entanglement through their lives with each other. Yeah. And I don't know, discover art in a way that feels really like important for especially like younger me.
I'm surprised there's not more like poetry centric coming of age movies, because
people hate poetry, Robbie.
Well, it's just poetry seems like such an obvious choice because it's such a like one like direct way to be more connected to your feelings. You know,
poetry is honestly like the coming of age art form.
Exactly.
Poetry is one of the art forms that a lot of people in their teen years end up starting to write.
Well, it's because they've never really sat down and examined their emotions or, you know, like their outlook on life in any meaningful way, and poetry offers a way to do that, which is what makes it so meaningful to like everyone, and specifically the characters in this movie. It makes for a good catalyst for a lot of the story.
And you know what I have to say to people who don't like poetry? You need to be able to be a little pretentious.
Quoting Ethan Hawke.
Listen, guys, poetry is one of my favorite art forms, and it is very pretentious.
It's extremely pretentious.
You have to.
It's the most pretentious.
It is the most pretentious form of writing. And anything can be poetry.
It's because poetry is 100% sincere and self-serious.
Exactly. And I think...
which is why it's the most cringe.
Exactly. And again, I think it's interesting because in my mind, poetry kind of, especially with the way that I've connected with poetry in my personal life, especially when I connected with poetry, it kind of feels like the movie and like just poetry in general kind of parallel each other in a way. That's really like powerful to watch, like the way poetry has personally affected me, and then the way that the theater has personally affected me, and just how I've gotten into like a love for art and everything, and how that's affected me, you know, growing up throughout high school and everything, and now like that I'm graduated and everything. So this movie always feels like it really understands like art. It really understands what it means to find art at that age.
I was about to say it's a good exploration of finding meaning through art and finding direction through art, you know?
Yeah.
Which makes it a very meaningful movie to a lot of people.
Right. And then, oh man, like literally everybody I've ever seen who dislikes this. Like I've seen some people who aren't as crazy about it as I am.
I haven't heard
which
like
I'm fine with.
Too many criticisms of it, so I don't really know.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm fine if you do not love this as much as I do.
Which I don't love it quite as much as you do.
No, yeah, it's whatever. This movie just personally means a lot to me.
Yeah.
It connects with a lot of things that I really love in storytelling, art, movies. It's just a bundle of stuff that I like.
Yeah.
But like all of the reviews and stuff that I've read that don't like this movie aggressively are like, ugh, it's so stupid and self-serious and melodramatic. And it's just one of those, it led into those 90s melodramatic movies that we got. Those darn melodramas.
It sounds to me like they just don't like melodrama.
And I'm like, come on, guys. What? Come on. Yeah, it's a little melodramatic.
What happened to them, Micah, when they were teenagers?
Right? What happened? Can you not... being a teenager is melodramatic. That's the teenage experience.
Right? Man. I don't know. I can't imagine not at least acknowledging how humanistic and kind of beautiful this movie is, you know?
Yeah, because like so many of the elements, and that's what makes it a little bit more difficult to talk about, is so many of the elements are very simple. Like there's nothing flashy about this movie.
It's literally just a group of boys coming of age at a prep school.
Yeah, like there's like one location.
That's the movie.
Nothing much happens. They're just like, oh, Captain, my Captain.
Oh, Captain, my Captain.
Until the end, which we'll get to.
Yes.
But like, I don't know. Like it's one of the most like kind of beautiful movies I've seen, and its simplicity.
Well, it's very subtly beautiful, you know. Like if you just had this on in the background, you'd probably miss a lot of the story and beats and all the stuff that make the movie have the little flavor it has, you know?
And like the little direction beats that we have, the little cinematography doing this, editing doing that.
Editing, man.
Performance doing this.
Yeah.
Like, dude, like 5 seconds into the movie, you have like Neil, like the guy who's playing Neil, give like the greatest performances ever. Like immediately he has that little voice squeak.
Oh my gosh. That's so good.
Like I don't know what it is with this movie, man. Like everything about it just feels so perfectly placed, so effortlessly perfectly placed.
Yeah.
And Yossi in his review brought up again, and I wanted to mention this.
Good friend of the podcast.
Good friend of the podcast. Kind of the feeling it cultivates to not only get you in the mindset of these characters, but also get you in like the mindset of like kind of like forced being quiet. Like
forced sense of quiet,
like how you are like at a school, you know, like
when you're purposefully being quiet.
Yeah, like when you're purposefully trying to be quiet, when when you're purposefully hiding stuff, and when you're purposefully like not fully expressing yourself.
Yeah.
And that's like everywhere in this movie from like the first frame.
Right.
You have like
that great opening scene.
You have that subtle whispering, and you have like it's so good.
I mean, like I said, I've only seen 2 Peter Weir movies, but he seems to have a very clear understanding of atmosphere and tone, and that's very apparent in this movie.
Like I said, he's one of the most like humanistic directors I've seen. It's very cool.
Yeah.
So I have a question.
Okay.
Since somebody had to ask it eventually.
Okay.
What do you think of kind of the climax of the movie? Because that's kind of like the thing that
usually divides people. That divides don't like people.
It. That kind of is the controversial point of topic in the movie.
I mean, it's a very understandably very like controversial point, because it's a very serious and like dark turn for the movie to take.
Yeah.
Which for a kind of a cheesy quote unquote movie, you know.
Yeah.
But I think it works really, really well in my opinion, because I mean, like how to describe it. I think the trajectory set in the movie very much leads to that.
Yeah.
Which is kind of sad, but also very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it leads to that very like kind of sad, but in like a very realistic way.
Yeah, I was about to say it feels very natural, and you know, maybe it was just because I'm watching it for a second time, but I very much felt it coming this time, and I'm like, oh no, like literally like 3 scenes before it happened, you know, I was like, oh man.
Yeah, I mean, like
it's just such a crushing blow, and I can appreciate when a movie hooks me in that deeply, like where I'm like, oh my goodness.
No, this is one of the most like brutal films that I've ever like personally, like, emotionally that I've felt brutal films.
Yeah. To
get through, and like I feel like it's used pretty well. Like I feel it's very effective, very purposeful.
I was about to say I feel like it's very tasteful, and it doesn't feel as exploitive as it could.
Yeah. Like, because that's kind of something I was thinking about on this last watch. I was like, because I mean, again, it's the end of Suicide Awareness Month.
It is, yeah.
So
getting it in just barely.
So like, there's that, and like, you know, because of that, I was thinking about it like a little bit more, and I was like, is this really like a tasteful thing? You know, like, is this something
you should include? Because
like
movie,
we talked about several different. I forget what movie. Like, even take something.
I'm trying to think of another movie.
It's not Suicide specifically, but take Moxie. We talked about that on the podcast.
Yes.
And they kind of have a sexual assault thing at the end.
Oh, man.
Very sloppily thrown on. That feels like it's just there to tie together the movie.
See, that feels very cheap.
And that feels very cheap and exploitative. But I feel like, honestly, as brutal as this, like, depressing as this sounds, I feel like the suicide in the movie is kind of at the core of what the movie is going for.
It's necessary for the story. It shows how, like, completely suffocating the society is that they live in.
Yeah, because I mean, like, essentially from the word go, like I said, it immediately gets you into that kind of forced silence that I was talking about. And from the very beginning, you feel like, again, suffocated by the noise. You feel suffocated by like the like just everything, and like the whole point of the movie that it's going for is that to live in these conditions, especially at that age, is actually unbearable.
Yeah.
Actually crushing to the human soul.
I was about to say, they get one taste of poetry, and all of a sudden they're like, oh my goodness, I feel like I'm actually alive for once in my life.
They feel they live for the first time in their lives.
Exactly.
And it shows how much like family and various things can put onto that can just make like especially for a teenager, and all of the melodrama that they feel, all of the intense emotions that they feel.
Absolutely.
How absolutely crushing that can be.
And it's interesting. I was going to bring up that sequence in particular because I thought I remembered actually hearing a gunshot at the end of it.
They don't have the gunshot.
But I was like, again, testament to the editing, because they don't actually, there's no sound. There's just this like heavy droning that goes on for like, I don't know, maybe 2 minutes almost. And then when it finally goes silent, it feels like there's been,
like the droning goes on, and then it like cuts.
It cuts to silence, and I'm like, oh my goodness, this is
it's very effective.
It's mind-bogglingly good. Like I would not have thought of that, and it's just, I don't know, it's a brilliant move to an already like I said, I think a very necessary artistic stroke in this movie.
Again, I don't have any particular stakes or voice in terms of talking about suicide on a whole.
Yeah, in a meaningful way. Neither do I really.
I can't tell you if this is like going to negatively affect somebody in that way. But I do honestly think it's very sincerely included and given the weight that it deserves. Yes. And again, at the center of, like, I mean, this movie is essentially a tragedy.
Oh, it is. Yeah, definitely.
It's a tragedy of showing, like, essentially that they, like if it wasn't for the art that they found, none of them would have really ever lived.
Exactly.
And for the little bit that they get to live in the movie and be happy, it's some of the most, like, engulfing, happy, joyous, brotherhood type stuff you've ever seen. Like, they go out of their way to just make it some of the most cheesy, fun, goofy, alive, energetic stuff you've ever seen.
Absolutely.
And then they kind of pull that out from under you.
But yeah, man, it's maybe I was wrong. Maybe I should have given this a 5.
I think it's kind of a perfect movie.
Well, its brilliance is just so understated, you know?
No, yeah. I mean, I think
it's wild.
I think it's brilliant. I think it's emotional. I think it's amazing. I think its message is really good.
Yeah.
I think please never do something like this to your teenage child.
Right? Oh my goodness, man.
Please stop trying to get them to live the life that you wanted to live.
Dude, that's gotta be one of the most unhealthy parenting styles outside of, like, outright abuse, you know?
Well, dude, heck, the stuff that the dad does in this movie is just outright abuse.
But yeah, man, I don't know, it's a very... It always surprises me how much it chokes me up, like, talking about this movie. I'm like,
oh. No, man, like, dude, and when you know it's coming, it kind of infects. Like, I do think this movie kind of takes multiple watches to really get what it's going for.
Yeah, like I said, this was my second time watching it, and I could appreciate it a lot more.
Or at least it increases it a lot, because when you know I had no idea that was going to happen.
Neither did I.
I watched it. I didn't know anything about it.
I didn't even know what the movie was about.
I just knew Robin Williams.
Yeah, I knew
That was as much as I knew when I first watched the movie, but we watched it quite a bit ago.
It was I don't know, like 3 years ago now or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know, but like, we didn't know what to expect going into the movie, so like it pulls the rug out from underneath you on a first watch.
Absolutely.
But then on a second watch and a third watch and so on and so forth, you can just kind of feel that it was always kind of building to that, and that constant, like, despite how amazing these, like, again, the scenes when they discover art and start to, like, essentially live for the first time feel, you always have this feeling of, like, dread that kind of plays in, and it's always been there.
Yeah, I was about to say, thematically, you know, like, from a story perspective, you know, none of this can last.
Yeah, like, they from the word go, like, everything they're doing is so
temporary,
and so, like, unadvisable from, like, a not getting caught kind of way.
Yeah.
Like it's just extremely temporary, but it's like it feels so important that they do it when you're watching the movie. It gets you completely into their mindset of like, this is all that they have.
Because it is.
Because it is. And just like the way that those, like, that the ending kind of bleeds into the rest of the movie as you're watching it.
Yeah, I was going to mention, like, we mentioned that that's like the climax, but everything after that it feels so meaningful and tasteful, and like I don't know, I don't know, there was just one screenwriter on this, which is crazy to me, because how do you write a screenplay like this?
I'll say one thing that I may have as like a complaint or criticism.
I haven't been able to come with
one thing is, I think that maybe the pacing is a little bit too slow after that.
Really?
Like on the wrap up, I always feel like it needs like, I feel like
I don't think I agree.
I don't know, not that, like, I feel like, I don't know, like, take like the "Oh Captain, My Captain" scene.
Yeah,
I feel like that scene just like goes on for a long time. I don't know.
I thought it was sweet.
Like, I don't know. No, I like it. I don't know how to describe it. Like, I feel like, because like everything in the wrap up is good.
Yeah.
But there's something about it that I'm like,
you don't think it flows quite the way it should?
Yeah, it doesn't fully flow, like, on the slightest little bit. The slightest minutiae thing. It's not that it goes on too long, it's that after that, I feel like, I don't know.
I was going to bring that up as, like, I think my one complaint with this movie is the flow is a little strange at times, but, like, at the same time, I can't point to one. I can't point to one thing that makes it feel that way. But I don't know, something about the pacing, which the story feels very well paced, like, thinking about it, but I don't know how you'd fix it. But it, like, every time I've seen it, it always has felt a little odd, like almost stilted, but not quite, like it's almost there.
Yeah, see, and I would agree with that, actually. Yeah. I would agree that it feels almost,
but that's to its benefit.
Yeah, no, I think it helps with, like, again, with kind of the feeling that the movie goes for, but it almost is boring.
It almost doesn't work at all. Exactly.
It's right on the edge of, like, just being really boring.
Yeah.
But it never hits like, no. I'm never bored watching the movie.
Never bored.
But it takes its time.
And see, I got bored the first time I watched this.
Dang.
And I now realize I've seen the error. I've seen the light, Micah.
See, and I feel like, again, a lot of that plays into, though, getting you in the mindset of these boys who have, like, nothing else going on. Like, they literally, this is it. And it takes its time with everything, and I think that's good. I can
appreciate that. Yeah, it's great stuff.
Great stuff. Do you have any other questions?
I guess specifically, what do you think of this as, like, a Robin Williams movie? Because I mean, it's still very odd to me that it's billed as a Robin Williams movie, because we've mentioned that the story's not really about him.
No, but I think this is one of, like, the best uses of Robin Williams that I've seen.
Yeah.
Because it's something that can use his.
It feels like a very good cast for him.
Yeah,
you know?
it's something that can use his energy that he has, and even some of his, like, stand-up energy,
right,
and use that for the fact of, like, that Robin Williams has always felt like an artist who understood, like, art, like, who understood why art was important, no matter how silly and goofy and stupid he was.
Yeah, exactly.
And using kind of, like, a tasteful amount of his goofiness, combined with just the fact that he always has had such a good, like, kind of father figure type vibe going with him, makes him, like, I don't know, like, his performance in this is just, like, the perfect, like, comforting encapsulation of something that everybody would want as a teacher.
Exactly. Yeah. One of the people I follow on Letterboxd said this is, like, a pretty perfect ode to, like, student teacher relationships. You know?
Yeah, like you said, no, you just gotta watch Good Will Hunting.
No, I gotta watch Good Will. But he's just, I don't know, it was surprising to me. I know I haven't seen too much of his film work, but he's extremely well cast in this role, which just kind of surprised me. I was like, oh. Pleasant surprise, yeah.
Like, I really love his performance in this movie.
He's very good here.
And, you know, like, Robin Williams, I really love Robin Williams as a person. but he doesn't always work.
I feel like a lot of the stuff I've seen him in, he's just felt very miscast or just there to be Robin Williams, and he doesn't really serve a purpose other than that. But this is one of the exceptions to that, I would say.
No, this was
the "Oh Captain, my Captain" scene. My God.
Oh, I love the "Oh Captain."
He like floats out of the classroom,
dude. Well, thank you, boy.
Thank you, boy.
Thank you, boy. Thank you. Man, that's it's amazing. Stuff. No, like
that's cinema.
They do a really good job of making you feel like he is an extreme ally for these characters, like that he fully understands them, and that he really believes everything that he's saying.
Absolutely.
And I was reading through the trivia, and it was like Robin Williams was so attracted to this role specifically because this was the kind of teacher that he always wanted growing up that he never had. Like he just, I feel like that's like the experience.
That's
everybody wants a teacher like this.
Right. No, man.
A teacher who maybe has gasped slightly unconventional teaching methods that are more personal.
I was about to say, anytime you get a teacher that actually seems to care about you as a person, it feels like a monumental achievement.
Poor teachers, man.
Right. Shout out to teachers. Dang.
No, because I know somebody who was a teacher who was literally trying to be personal, but the school just essentially the parents and everything in the school just beat it out of her until she didn't even want to be a teacher anymore.
Thanks American education system, you've done it again.
She was like, I literally just don't care anymore, and that's not good.
It's sad.
And I'm like, dang, but that's American school system.
We're gonna sit down all of the American politicians and people in charge of the school system and make them watch Dead Poets Society.
Watch it.
It'll be like a Clockwork Orange.
Exactly.
Soak it all in.
Man, school systems. I love how school is for most people isn't anything like weird rich person prep school that's presented in this movie, but yet it's such a universal experience for school stuff to feel so trapped in what you're doing.
Well, it doesn't even have to be school, just in life in general.
But especially for school age people, this is such a even if it's not anywhere near as extreme, obviously, I would say most people, I would be wrong here. I really hope do not have this extreme of being like trapped in and underneath the thumb of their parents, essentially. Oh, but still, they're like the again, like kind of the feeling and vibe and stuff that this movie cultivates is just so like teenager-y. Like I feel like it's so. It captures the angst and joy of being a teenager very well. Yeah, which is quite nice. And
but very good movie.
Very, very good movie.
If you have not seen it yet and like old enough or mentally ready enough to see it, I would definitely recommend it. So I'm a big Peter Weir guy.
This is the problem, Robbie. We came into this movie and I was hoping that you would like. Not that I was hoping you'd dislike it. I really wanted you to love it. But I was hoping you'd have like something we could disagree, something we could talk about.
Big fighting point where I can be like, no, it's actually bad. It's really bad, actually.
Because this always happens when we do podcasts on movies that we love. We're like, we kind of have to like skirt around talking about the very like why it works so well.
But yeah, I feel like we've nailed down pretty well what makes this movie
before we end the discussion. I just remember that I wanted to mention this. That I think the Dead Poets Society meeting are some of my favorite scenes in the movie.
Really,
I love the Dead Poets Society meetings.
I like them to a point. I really like the first few times they're there, but later on they just feel a little tacked on. Tacked on is not the right word, but I don't know. They don't feel as meaningful later on to me.
Nwanda, right?
I don't know.
I really loved all of them. I don't know.
All right. Well, I mean, that's your prerogative.
They change position mostly through Charlie.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that plays to what the movie is going for at the time.
It's necessary, but like honestly, I think that's when I tuned out the first time, was during that like one of the last few meetings. I was like, oh man.
Boo.
But I liked it this
Get
time.
off the
I
stage.
liked it this time. Mike is like, I want you to have a different opinion. And I express it, and Mike is like, no, you're wrong.
Exactly.
But yeah, no. I mean, the first few, I agree. They are very, very good.
Yeah, no, I love them. Dude, the saxophone, Remy. Saxophone.
Okay, the saxophone is very good. I have to admit.
I love that. You know, I would join the Dead Poets Society in a heartbeat.
I need my sleep, Micah. I can't be out
a bunch
that
of
late.
tired people in a cave reading poetry, and getting really into it, bringing different. That's life, Robbie. That's living.
That's living.
Time to go watch My Dinner with Andre.
In my eyes, getting a good night's rest is living.
You're wrong. You need to be more in tune with the arts, Robbie.
I see. I can now see the error of my way.
But yeah, that's Dead Poets Society. Again, I give it a 5 out of 5.
I gave it a 4.5 out of 5. I don't know why. I still can't point to like a concrete reason why. And I hate when Micah does this, when he's like, oh, it's just not a 5, you know.
Well, no, yeah,
but like so it's again, just I don't know. It wasn't a 5.
The way I treat 5s usually is most of the time 5s can be on the same like quality level as a 4.5, but a 5 is something that I particularly has a quality that I particularly love.
I don't know. It just doesn't. There's something about it that's not quite a 10 out of like 10 for me. I don't know what it is.
Get off the stage.
I need maybe I just need to watch it again.
Get out of here. Go read some poetry. Yeah, Robbie, how much poetry have you read? Ask yourself that question.
I read the stuff for school, and I've read some stuff that friends and family have written, but outside of that, I have not explored poetry in any substantial way.
Man. A disgrace.
That's why it's not a 10 for me.
That's why it's not a 10.
All right.
Go read some poetry.
Go read some poetry.
You know, Robbie, I at a homeschooling expo I was working at in Florida.
Oh no.
I found a used book booth and found a tiny little book.
That's a Dead Poets Society.
That's an antique book of poetry.
There you go.
And it's amazing. And it's great, and I love it.
Fair enough.
And that's the kind of thing you got to strive to find in this life. Tiny, random, antique books of poetry that nobody's ever heard of.
There you go.
That's what it's all about.
That's what it's all about. But yeah, now that we've kind of wrapped up our discussion on Dead Poets Society, let's go over the rest of the stuff we watched over the past week or so.
Let's. Hey, howdy, hey.
Hello.
Welcome, folks who have made it this far into the podcast. For those of you who have never made it here before, we do a little segment on the end.
We like to do a little segment.
It's the What We Watched segment, in which we talk about what we've watched since our last episode.
Amazing.
We give our rating and a few...
You're making me on too. Dang it.
A few brief thoughts. So let's get into it.
Wow, real high energy segment.
We're going from the 18th, where we're with the Diary of a Wimpy Kid, Dog Days.
We watched Dog Days, baby.
And did an episode on it.
Did a whole episode about it.
Then on the 19th, what did we watch, Remy?
We watched Ridley Scott's Alien.
Ayo.
It came out in 1979, the 70s.
Shout out to Alien.
Can't believe it.
This was a rewatch for me, but I had just watched it for the first time a little bit ago.
Shout out to Ridley Scott.
Podcast.
Yeah.
But Ridley Scott is amazing.
He's quickly becoming one of my favorite directors, honestly.
Come on.
What?
I used to always bring up Ridley Scott. You'd be like, ugh, Ridley Scott.
Are you gatekeeping Ridley Scott as someone who's seen like four Ridley Scott?
No, I'm just saying, Ravi, that I loved Ridley Scott from the word go, and you were always like, ew, Ridley Scott.
Well, I just wasn't a Martian guy.
Ew,
The Martian is cool and groovy, but it is not what I would call cinematic class.
The Martian, Prometheus, Rebbe.
I loved
Legend,
Prometheus. I loved
Blade
Legend.
Runner,
I loved
Alien.
Blade Runner. I loved Alien.
Come on.
It was The Martian was a bad
Ridley Scott.
The Martian was a bad introduction to Ridley Scott for
watch
me.
a Ridley Scott movie.
But yes, Alien, I watched it for the very first time, and it is very, very good.
It is outstanding, incredible, beautiful, insane that it came out in the 70s.
It's kind of awe-inspiring, really.
Inspired literally an entire subgenre of horror.
Yes. And Sigourney Weaver's in it.
Sigourney Weaver.
She is, oh my goodness. Just outstanding.
It's got Bilbo Baggins.
It does have Bilbo Baggins.
Bilbo Baggins is in this movie.
Which is kind of strange.
It's so good. The practical effects, the pacing, the tension.
It's amazing. I don't understand how they made something like this.
They got a little cat. Sigourney Weaver goes. Pss, 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 pss.
The atmosphere, Micah. Literally just the atmosphere. I could literally just sit in the like ship ambience of this movie. Just them do it, not really doing much of anything.
The camera work.
It's so good.
Yeah, dude, this movie is it is a masterpiece.
It's a classic. It is
fantastic.
Yeah.
It is a classic. It is amazing. It is perfect.
Micah, did you know that in space no one can hear you scream?
You know, I feel like that's wrong, as I heard all of them scream.
We heard a bunch of people scream, actually.
I gave it a 5 out of 5.
I also gave it a 5 out of 5. My man Ridley, you know?
And then on the 20th, we watched Spirited Away on the American release anniversary of Spirited Away.
Yes. One of my favorite films of all time.
Shout out to Spirited Away. Shout out to Hayao Miyazaki. And yeah,
it's kind of that thing that happens every time I rewatch one of my favorites. I'm like, oh no, what if I don't like it as much this time? And then I usually end up liking it more.
You gotta lower your expectations so they can be raised every time.
Exactly, so it can blow me out of the water every time I watch it.
Spirited Away is obviously fantastic. It's a classic.
I mean, I think it's Miyazaki's best movie.
I do not think it's Miyazaki's best movie
of an already stacked filmography, which apparently is going to be added to in upcoming years.
Oh my gosh! I think it is a fantastic movie, and I think it is one of the most impressive, massive scale movies.
It is a feat of filmmaking. Like, I don't understand how you make something like this.
Ghibli and Miyazaki have ever done, but I do not think it is his best. I definitely think it has some flaws.
It does have some flaws,
and
but
it does not fully work for me in some ways.
They're inconsequential, Mike.
Inconsequential. But I still really love Spirited Away, and again, I think it's probably honestly one of the most beautiful Ghibli movies, and that's saying a lot for Ghibli movies.
It's the most beautiful, I would argue.
I think this is it feeling like, I think Ghibli feels like it's most high budget here. Mm-hmm. It feels like it's most prestigious. This movie is absolutely gorgeous. Every single frame.
Dude. The paintings alone. You could just play the score and cross dissolve between the background paintings in this, and I would ascend.
I was like 10 of 10.
10 of 10. I love it. Perfect.
Yeah, I gave it a 4.5 out of 5.
I gave it a 5 out of 5, man. It's man, it's so good.
And then on the 21st, we watched Martin Scorsese's Bringing Out the Dead.
Very first time.
One of the lesser known Scorsese. Still very much liked, but not as loved. Yeah. Scorsese movie.
Honestly, it might be my new favorite from him. I need to give it another round.
I have been thinking about this movie a lot,
but though. Exactly, it's just so rich and gripping, and it's beautiful. Really, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful movie.
Beautiful. Yes. I think that's a bit of a stretch. Okay. This thing is grimy, gross, disturbing, and messed up. It's very. I don't know about beautiful.
It's honestly I think the most disturbing Scorsese movie probably that I've ever seen.
No, I mean, people like a lot of people have said this is probably, which again blows me away,
it's a
with
very
his filmography. A lot of people have said this is probably the overall darkest he gets.
I mean, it's a very dark movie.
Yeah, if you think about it for long, because while you're in the movie, it kind of gets you into it. It
feels like a fun time.
It gets you into it. It feels fun, which is also disturbing.
Right.
Dude, like I was thinking about like the scenes when like it's him and his former partner in
Oh
the
my
ambulance,
goodness,
and like he's
dude.
like bring on the blood, and like he's like they're really getting into it, and they really want somebody to be almost dead.
It's so good. Like it blows my mind how good Bringing Out the Dead is. It's I think my favorite Schrader script. I've only seen this in First Reformed.
I don't know, Robbie. First Reformed brilliant.
Is such a different kind of story.
It's very different.
But at the same time, like the protagonists of both they feel very similar, and I mean it's Paul Schrader.
Schrader needs some therapy.
He has a reputation for writing characters like this.
Schrader needs some therapy.
Yes, he does. Don't we all, Micah? At the end of the day.
But no, I really love this movie stylistically. Yeah. I love what it's going for. But out of Martin Scorsese movies, it did not fully like emotionally connect with me on a first watch in the way that a lot of his has. So I did not love it as much as I've loved most of his movies.
I mean, I think it's between this and Shutter Island for my favorite from him.
Which is hilarious because a lot of people also don't like Shutter Island. I
know, and it makes me sad. Silence, I think, is easily probably like his most masterful work that I've seen. But it didn't connect with me quite the same way that Shutter Island and Bringing Out the Dead.
You haven't watched his mobster flicks.
I know. I have
Goodfellas, The Departed, Casino,
they're
Irishman.
They're both sitting right over there. I have them on Blu-ray and I haven't watched them yet, and I really need to.
Raging Bull, I'm really excited. That's another Schrader one.
Another Schrader. I need to watch Taxi Driver too.
Yeah, that's another Schrader.
But yeah, I loved Bringing Out the Dead.
I loved it too.
If you are old enough and again mentally prepared.
Oh man, it's a lot. It's very disturbing.
I would recommend it. It's a very good movie.
4.5 out of 5 for me, but I would be fully prepared to take it to a 5 on a rewatch if it just like fully clicked emotionally for me, you know.
Absolutely.
Then on the 23rd, we watched See How They Run.
We went out to the theater.
We went out to the theater.
Again, I love going to the theater.
Shout out to Saoirse Ronan.
Few things I like more in life than to just go out to the theater.
But shout out to Saoirse Ronan.
Shout out to Saoirse Ronan. She's kind of a brilliant performer.
She is amazing.
You can't undersell Saoirse Ronan, you know.
And she's probably the best part of this movie.
Can't oversell? Yeah, can't oversell that. I was about to say, wait a minute. Right, but yes. She's quite good in this.
She is probably the best part about this movie. This movie is like pretty much a feature film debut from like all of the production people involved.
Right. Imagine See How They Run being your first movie.
And it feels it for a lot of aspects.
It feels very amateurish.
It feels very amateurish. It's still very fun. It's still very good. Which again is very impressive for coming off of like essentially being a first time writing, first time directing.
If I was handed like Sam Rockwell and Adrian Brody and Saoirse Ronan for my first feature,
what the heck's up with that?
I don't know what I would do.
I still want to know how this movie was made because it's a Searchlight picture, which I was pretty sure they're not really making movies anymore. First time writer, first time director with this cast.
It's so wild. But you know, it's got its charms, and like I said, Saoirse Ronan's really a standout here. Like she carries the movie pretty hard in my opinion.
I think a lot just doesn't quite fully work, and like almost every element doesn't fully work.
And see, that's the thing. A lot of the stuff about this movie I really like the mystery stuff, the ideas presented, the metatextuality of it is very interesting in theory, but in practice, in this movie, it doesn't really click the way it should.
And one of the things that really bothers me, I know I keep bringing it up, but like they present an idea at the very end having to do with the mystery, kind of a thematic thing. And then they literally, it's a very like actually morally interesting topic.
I was about to say
a lot of relevance.
It's a topic that I haven't seen explored very much, given how prevalent it is in modern art and cinema.
That is very, prevalent in today's media, and then it literally makes
over.
some jokes about it and moves on.
Yeah,
and it's kind of like
it leaves a bad taste.
It's kind of at the core of the mystery, and that, like, yeah, again, it just leaves a bad taste in my mouth. Especially like it feels mean spirited towards the argument.
Yeah, I was about to say I almost gave this a 3.5 instead of a 4, just because of that. But I was like, it seems a little petty, but like at the same time,
yeah, I don't know. It feels very mean spirited for no reason at an argument for something that I think is a legitimate
problem. Yeah. But see how they run. It was fun. I hope that Tom George in the future gets a little more refined in his directing. Yeah,
and I hope Saoirse Ronan gets more roles.
I was about to say, Saoirse Ronan in this, I didn't know she was such a great comedic actor.
What? Come on.
I mean, she has like fun stuff in Little Women. I'm trying to think of another Saoirse Ronan role that's like where she does like fun stuff, because
Lady Bird.
what is the name of that? City of Ember?
City of Ember.
Or is it City of Ember? I don't know.
City of Ember.
She doesn't really get that much in that, and she's pretty young.
And The Lovely Bones too.
Yeah, and The Lovely Bones, same thing. It's a much more serious role.
But Robbie, what about Muppets Most Wanted?
She's quite good in that. But yeah, see how they run. She's a very talented comedic performer, and I did not realize until now.
She is amazing.
So yeah, if you want to go out to the theater and watch it, go for it. It's pretty fun, but it's a little shaky. So.
I gave it a 3 out of 5.
I gave it a 4 out of 5. I thought it was a good time. Yeah.
Then on the 23rd, we watched Scooby-Doo, or no, not Scooby-Doo. Scooby Goes Hollywood.
Scooby Goes Hollywood.
The
70s,
first,
baby.
The first Scooby-Doo movie.
Feature film, baby. His feature debut.
Feature debut.
I love Scooby-Doo.
Of Mr. Scooby-Doo.
Micah, you've pulled me into the Scooby-Doo.
Okay, so I've been watching every single Scooby-Doo movie.
Yeah.
For A, because I wanted to, but B, for a video. I mean, I wouldn't have watched all of these.
Yeah, you wouldn't have watched all of them. No.
Some of them are pretty bad. But I'm planning on doing a video for them on my YouTube channel, ranking all of them. And this was one that was a little bit harder to track down. Again, the first movie made in the 70s.
I didn't know they were making Scooby-Doo movies in the 70s.
Well, honestly. Scooby-Doo started in the 60s, right?
That's true.
But I love Scooby-Doo so much, and for some reason, this movie gets like Scooby-Doo so well. Like I understand, it was right after, but I've seen some of the early movies. I've seen another movie from this director, and it sucked.
Dang.
I hated Reluctant Werewolf. But this really, besides Shaggy being really annoying and a jerk in this movie,
he is a jerk. He's a jerk in a lot of the.
He is a jerk movies. In a lot of, especially earlier stuff.
Yeah, in the early stuff.
Before he became the fan favorite character.
Yeah.
But it just gets so much about Scooby-Doo as a franchise, especially it approaches it in such a cool metatextual way for him being in a movie.
I was about to say, this is such a smart screenplay for what?
For him being in his first movie and everything. The entire thing is about him wanting to be in movies and people being but Scooby-Doo, people already love you.
Exactly.
So then they make Scooby-Doo movies like the shows but longer, and I don't know, it's cool.
It's such a sweet and genuinely a kind of awesome movie.
Yeah, literally the entire moral of the story is that people love Scooby-Doo.
And it's true. And the musical numbers bang.
Yeah, I was about to say the musical numbers. There are so a lot of musical numbers, and they all are really good. And the movie is also about that Scooby-Doo has divine slapstick comedy powers that even he can't control.
It's too powerful,
which is amazing. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, Scooby-Doo or not Scooby-Doo. Scooby Goes Hollywood.
I know it trips you up almost every Scooby-Doo title, and then on the poster it says Scooby-Doo Goes Hollywood, but the title is Scooby Goes Hollywood.
But yeah, certified banger.
Loved it.
4 out of 5.
Hilarious.
Or 4.5 out of 5.
Literally, me and Robbie were dying laughing in the first
funny.
5 minutes.
It's so funny.
I also gave it a 4.5 out of 5. Then what did we watch, Remy?
Then we watched, for the very first time, We're All Going to the World's Fair. 2021 film. I believe the debut of Jane Schoenbrunn.
Yeah.
Very good movie.
Yeah.
I did not know. I mean, I expected it to be for those familiar, if you've seen anything about We're All Going to the World's Fair, I thought it was going to be a horror movie when we started it, but it was not a horror movie, but it was something maybe much more meaningful.
I don't know. It's still marked as a drama horror.
No,
and
I mean,
still think it. I mean, it is,
you'd be amiss to not mark it as a horror at some level.
It uses horror elements. Very.
It uses horror.
Very like important to the movie, but it is not a horror.
It's a critical part of the movie, but like it is not a horror movie.
But what to say about We're All Going to the World's Fair? It's a very interesting movie.
It's a very interesting movie.
It's surprisingly like rich and like in depth for what is presented.
I thought about it for like a solid day, like after we first watched it. I was like, man.
I know a lot of people were talking about it, but it really, really does get into the mindset of kind of like being a depressed teenager on the internet.
Right.
And also being like, a depressed loner on the internet. Like it does a really good job of getting into that kind of back alley internet that like, I feel like a lot of people older than really the people making this movie don't even fully understand about the internet.
I can't even imagine showing this to like grandma and grandpa what they would think of this movie.
Well no, because like again it taps into that kind of like back alley 3 a.m. creepypasta talking with some random stranger about the weirdest stuff in the world kind of internet
which is good.
That really only people,
I haven't seen that in movies.
I was going to say that really only people who grew up in like the internet era get.
Yeah. It's a very an essentially internet child movie, and I think that's a good thing. I think it explores that topic in a very meaningful and surprisingly mature way.
Yeah, no, I think it poses interesting questions through its use of the internet and use of kind of a stupid online internet challenge, and like it does a really good job of making you like.
It examines that topic, why cultures like that emerge from online and what they mean to people and everything. Yeah. It's very interesting.
Yeah, no, it's a very unique, very weird, very I don't know, it's good.
I'd recommend it.
It's not my favorite thing in the world. No. There's a lot of things that I don't like about it. I think it's a little poorly paced.
I don't know about poorly paced.
Well, here, I think it's a little roughly written.
Yeah.
It needed to be rewritten a couple more times, I think, because while I like what it presents, fair. I feel like a lot of the time for how short it is, it feels like it's wasting your time.
That's fair. I will say I really enjoyed the inclusion of JLB as a character. It adds a whole different dimension to the story, and I honestly like one of the most crucial parts of the entire movie.
I mean, like the dynamic between the two of them, as weird as it is very like.
No, and
it's purposefully weird.
I was reading an interview with the director, and they were talking about how like crucial JLB is to like the entire movie, and how it keeps you guessing at their motivations and stuff like that. It makes for a very interesting watch. Also, shout out to Anna Cobb; she's great in this.
Yeah, no, it was very fun.
Yeah,
I give it a 3.5 out of 5.
I give it a 4.5 out of 5.
Wow, Rebby, you're really just
like
rating.
Fantastic movie.
I've noticed this a lot lately. You've been like just in general. Like it started like probably like a month ago. You've just been rating stuff way higher.
Yossi got through to me. All movies are great.
Fair enough.
Unless they're not.
I was about to say, you've just been like consistently rating stuff a half star or a whole star higher than like me or other people that I know.
I guess I just appreciate film more than you.
Wow, there you go. He just appreciates film more. You've heard it here first.
But yeah, no, very good stuff. Like I said, I watched Alien for the very first time. A monumental watch, some might say.
Yeah, so go check out Dead Poets Society.
Yeah.
Go check out Bringing Out the Dead.
Hopefully you guys had a good November. No, October? What is this?
No,
what month is
September,
this? September?
Robbie. September. Oh, man.
I don't know what month it is.
Oh, man. Robbie, it's my birthday in a couple.
It's your birthday.
And in 1 week and 3 days.
My goodness. Well, then now people know when your birthday is.
Now they know.
If they want to do the math, I don't know.
So send me happy birthdays.
But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed, and we'll see you in spooky season.
Go watch a Ridley Scott film.
Go watch a Ridley Scott movie. Do yourself a favor and go watch Legend, I guess. I don't know.
Go watch Alien.
Go watch Alien.
Prometheus. Blade Runner.
Prometheus is so good. Why don't people like Prometheus?
Blade Runner, the final cut.
Confounding.
I would say.
Yeah.
But yeah, have fun. Have a good month.
Have a good month, and we'll catch you in the next episode. Yeah.
Oh yeah, wait.
He's about to click it.
We're gonna look forward. We're gonna start our Scream series soon.
Scream.
So yeah, look forward to that.
Bye.